Some memories come with a frame around them, so they will not be forgotten. Our 6 days at the Veterans Administration was like that. We learned the horrors of war from those who were there and were touched by the beauty of these forgotten soldiers. This tape is a tribute to these men and a little-known technique to give them emotional relief from the aftermath of war. My name is Gary Craig. My associate is Adrian Fowley, and we are personal performance coaches in the San Francisco Bay Area. In August of 1994, the Veterans Administration in Los Angeles invited us to spend 6 days with the veterans of the Vietnam era to help relieve the emotional anguish these men carried in the form of post-traumatic stress disorder, or PTSD, as it is commonly known. In many cases, these men are afraid to go to sleep at night because of the nightmares they expect. They have mood swings, they sweat, they shake, they have headaches, they have bouts of anger, tears, guilt, and grief, and they are visited perpetually by memories of destruction, death, and pain. Until now, relief for this dreadful affliction has been hard to come by. Fortunately, relief is now rather easily achieved through techniques that Adrian and I have developed called EFT. They are patterned after some remarkable discoveries made by Dr. Roger Callahan and are based on the premise that the cause of all negative emotions, including PTSD, is a disruption in the body's energy system. The techniques appear strange, but are based on solid scientific principles. They require tapping on the body's energy system while the vet is tuned into the emotional problem. Doing so balances the energy meridians and produces rapid, long-lasting relief for traumatic memories. You will see this repeatedly in this tape. This videotape demonstrates these techniques and displays their power. It does not, however, purport to teach them. If you wish to learn them, you may do so through a commercially available videotape course. As you watch these sessions, please join us in saluting these valiant men. When you hear their stories, you will have, we hope, a new respect for these forgotten heroes. If you have any questions or want information on learning EFT, please contact us as follows. Our first vet is Rich, who spent his combat duty as a warrant officer in Cambodia. He was released in April of 1975 and has been undergoing therapy for his intense war-related emotional issues since 1978. These issues include over 100 intrusive memories and a severe height phobia. He has insomnia because of this and gets only 4 hours of sleep per night. Little or no headway has been made, but he keeps trying. This videotape segment starts on our second session with Rich. You're a Vietnam veteran.
Right.
Okay, and you're here at a Veterans Administration facility as a round-the-clock inpatient for PTSD.
Right.
Post-traumatic stress disorder with a number of Vietnam experiences. Height phobias and a bunch of stuff that's related to all of that. And we talked yesterday for an hour or two.
Sure.
Was it yesterday or the day before?
Well, the day before we talked for 2 hours, but we talked yesterday for a few minutes.
Yeah, but as far as sitting in that chair and you and I talking, it was...
A couple days ago.
A couple days ago, right. And we seem to have taken care of a height phobia, I guess.
I tried it at least a dozen times, and it's worked.
Yeah.
Which was...
That's a dozen times.
Very skeptical, but it actually worked, so I believe that it works. Part of the problem with PTSD is a trust factor, so it's not just the height that I had to come over, it's trusting yourself and Adrian, or anyone. So by doing the procedure, and then that night I went back, actually before I went out there, I didn't even test it. I went through the procedure again to make sure, because I didn't want to go out there. But since then, I've gone out there quite a few times. And it's
without doing the procedure?
Without doing the procedure at all.
Rich, could we go over the height phobia, how intense it was for the camera? I know that you were needed to jump out of...
Well, I have, in the service, I have over 50 parachute jumps. And I was scared of heights then, but it became worse. I don't know if it was the fear of always having to jump, because it would take a 4-hour event, getting your chute ready, going down to the green ramp, sitting there, and all that played in your mind.
Sure.
So when I would, I noticed, it seemed like the older I got, the more fear I had, especially going up elevators, if I went to the mall and looked over the second floor, I'd feel like I'm falling. And maybe it's not fear of heights as much as this fear of always falling when I'm looking.
Nonetheless, it's a fear when you're up high.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
And that it's been with me. We have a fire escape here, which I'm okay if I go down the inside where I can't see over the railing, and I have to look straight ahead. If I look down, then it was very difficult to do. And since I did this procedure, it's very easy for me to do it.
Okay.
Without any emotional pain or anxiety.
We turn now to that first session with Rich where we eliminate his height phobia. In this session, Rich, on a 10-point intensity scale, goes to an 8 or 9 just thinking about going out on that fire escape. In fact, the mere thought of it makes the hair stand up on his legs. After using the tapping technique for only 5 minutes, Rich no longer has any fear in the stage when he just thinks about it.
Now it's moving closer. It's closer to the 1. Closer to the 1. In fact, I could probably look over it right now.
So now the ultimate test. Will it hold up in the real situation?
Well, I've never been able to do this.
Now, right now, are you a 1, a 2, a 5? What are you?
I'm about a 0.
About a 0. Okay, now
I don't know what a 0 is because I've never been there before, but I've never been able to lean over the railing.
And how many floors up are we? 3?
3 floors. Plus, I don't feel the anxiety that I'm going to fall.
Here's your friends? Why don't you put the camera down in the front? You want to wave? Have you ever seen him do this before? No.
I'm healed. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you.
Mental health professionals and phobia sufferers should find this result stunning. Conventional methods for phobias usually take months or years to give any relief, and even then, the relief is only partial. Just in case you are wondering about how long this result lasts, we are happy to report that the relief is usually permanent. We've helped eliminate hundreds of phobias with this technique, and typically, they never come back. Now let's return to the second session with Rich and delve into those intrusive memories that caused him so much pain. Note how rapidly EFT reduces their impact to 0.
Test a thing or two. I mean, we, among other things, 2 days ago, we went through the intrusive memories that make up your PTSD. All of, not all. We didn't go through all of your. We went through, I think, 3 or 4
of them
of your most intense, intensely difficult memories. The one that when they come back, they really get to you. Okay. And we were able 2 days ago to have you go through that and talk about it rather calmly. Whereas normally it got up on a scale of 0 to 10, like an 8 or a 10 or something.
Sure, there's days it got to a 10. The day I was in here, a couple of them got to 10, a couple of them I think got to 7.
Okay. But then you were able to discuss them at a level of 0, if I recall.
Right. It was a 0.
Would you mind taking the most intense of those 3 and telling the story again and then letting us know as you tell it? This is a way of testing, by the way, because anything left, we want to make sure we get a hold of it. But let's just see what your intensity is now as you discuss it. Would you mind doing that?
Sure. Probably the 3, the toughest issue was coming to a village and seeing so many bodies. Actually, my experience was in Cambodia, not Vietnam. And the Khmer Rouge, there was a couple Khmer Rouge groups, and they were overthrowing the Cambodian government. And April '75, they succeeded in doing that, and they went to different villages and basically annihilated the people in the village. They would destroy the entire village.
How does it feel when you say that on a scale of 0 to 10?
Well, actually, I'm a 0.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm a 0, and we would go to the village. You could hear the people screaming at nighttime, and when you would go in the village, in one incident, which I had relayed to you and Adrian, was that there was so many, about 20 dead bodies, and they were all decapitated.
And how do you feel now when you talk about those 20 decapitated bodies?
I'm at a 0.
Okay, now I remember rather clearly the other day you were up around a 7 or an 8.
Well, probably when I said the bodies, and that part stays in my mind, I'm sure I was at a 10, because even though I was able to talk about it over the years, because I've been in therapy since '78, it still was very intense.
Okay. But it's not intense now when you speak about it?
No.
Okay, I would like to get a little more detailed on that. I'd like to get below the surface of just saying there were 20 decapitated bodies to see what your intensity is. And if it becomes uncomfortable, by the way, I want to know that right away, okay? But can you describe in more detail any one of them?
Sure. Well, actually, they wore black uniforms. And their heads were dismembered from their body, and the heads were...
You mean like here was a body laying here and there was a head right next to it or something? And
within 6 feet of them, there was just a pile of heads and a pile of bodies.
Were there expressions on the faces?
Well, what I can only remember is just a blank, because obviously I didn't stare too long.
As you speak about this now in more detail, are you still a 0 or are you getting up to something?
I think I'm a 0.
You think you're a 0?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I wouldn't have told you the fact where the heads were, or the fact that the blood was all over the place, and they were thin, their bodies had swollen from the heat. It was the stench. It used to be I could smell the stench, and now that I'm talking about it, I can't smell the stench.
Oh, you can't smell the stench now? Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, you told me when we first started talking about any of these things that you could see, hear, smell, taste. Did you not say that to me?
Sure. When an event, an intrusive thought, or what I call a negative thought, or a memory of my Cambodian experience, sure, I could smell the gunfire, I could smell the green woods. There's a smell of blood you can smell.
Can you smell that now as you talk about it?
No.
Okay. Yeah, I'll tell you what's interesting about that. I'm going to tell you what some other vets have told me that have dealt with PTSD in this process. And I don't say this to put words in your mouth. I say this to ask you if you think this would be accurate. Okay. And they will tell me that while they do not forget the memory is still there. They can still recount it as well as they ever could. The emotion gets neutralized, and one fellow said it's like talking about a shopping trip. Now, is that accurate as far as you're concerned?
Last night, actually, I tried to think of a couple of the intrusive thoughts that I had told you, and it was very... numbing's not the word. I was very calm. It was just as if it didn't want to enter my mind. Mm-hmm. So I'm not even sure that the fact that the memory was still there, it was a vague memory. It wasn't something that I even